Danny Batten MMA show only on Ace Podcast Nation. I'm your host, Si. Here at Ace Podcast Nation, we have podcast series and shows on all types of subjects. Regular series on mental health, conspiracy theories, serial killers, the podcast with no name, which is our films and TV show, wrestling, and of course our weekly football show, which is the Andy Campbell Championship Show, where we review all the Sky Bet Championship football matches, as well as the latest news from around the football world, with Premier League and Championship, former Premier League and Championship striker Andy Campbell providing the insight and analysis. Last Friday, we dropped a brand new unscripted and uncensored show with UFC fighter Brett Johns. You can find that and all our other shows in video format at youtube.com/AcePodcastNation, or available in audio format for download or stream at Google Pods, Apple Pods, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, and all those podcasting apps. We've also recently recorded episodes with Bellator fighter Tom Mearns and UFC hot prospect Jack Tank Shaw, coming off his UFC debut recently, and they'll be out over the next coming weeks. Today we're talking MMA, easy for me to say, and in particular UFC 245, which was last night, a very, very fun show to watch. And joining me to break down the show, provide his superb technical analysis, former Cage Warriors featherweight champion and British MMA legend, Mr. Danny Batten. Welcome, Danny. How are you, mate?
I'm all good, Si. It's been a good weekend.
Yeah, I was struggling to get my words out then. It was
late on Sunday.
Yeah, it's been a long weekend. Lots of MMA and fighting. So just before we get into it, I wanted to ask you, are you aware of, or did you watch or know about the Fame MMA? Do you know what that is?
No.
So
enlighten me.
There was an MMA show yesterday which has been building for the last couple of weeks. It's basically a pro MMA company or show, which was around like Geordie Shore, like reality TV stars, podcasters, people like that. I just wondered if you watched it, because I saw a lot of like proper fighters talking about it on social media, and I don't think they were very impressed. And I think actually this came up when I spoke to Paddy Pimblett, was because he's had there's one guy called Aaron Chalmers who's from Geordie Shore, who is actually turned pro, but he's put the work in and trains professionally, and does it properly. He's trying to make a go of it. I think he's kind of punching above his weight, trying to call out people like Paddy or other Cage Warriors fights. And I don't think he's there yet, but at least he's trying to do it the right way. Whereas like this show last night, I didn't watch it. I saw clips of it, and I've seen the build up to it. To me, it just feels like I don't know how to describe it. It just feels too cartoony, and I feel like it tarnishes MMA and combat sports rather than does anything positive for it. Like the new eyes that it will attract, and not going to be like a positive impact on the sport generally. But yeah, if you weren't aware,
I hadn't heard about that. I mean, I no doubt I will. This will probably get spoken about at the gym at some point when I go in on Monday. But yeah, interesting format. Them trying to do it in that way, I guess. But whether that's successful or not, time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, they've done similar stuff with boxing and these sorts of things. It's not for me. I've got to be honest. I prefer to watch kind of the proper stuff, as it were.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so just before we go into it, I'm going to just do my little sponsorship plug for friends of the show. So today's show is brought to you by Away Day Apparel. Away Day Apparel is a group of casually obsessed football fans looking to bring something different to the wardrobes of like-minded people. With football, music, and weekend partying high on the agenda, they aim to bring you some exclusive products. Edgy, controversial, most importantly current, from t-shirts, polos, shorts to hoodies, jackets and accessories. Stick with them, and they aim to bring you terrace wear that will turn heads and provide the cutting-edge look that we all crave. And just modelled by me. I got an Away Day Apparel t-shirt there. Could have done with a battle model, really, but there we go. Here's what it is, I suppose. Okay, so we're going to break down the UFC main card fight by fight. Danny will give us the technical analysis. I'll speak as a fan. I thought it was a really, really fun show, actually. So I'm quite looking forward to talking about it. I thought the women's bout in particular, I thought was excellent.
Yeah, excellent. I really enjoyed that too.
Just before we do that, I wanted, as we like to do, I'd like you to fill us in on your BST fighters and how what's the news, where we're doing.
Just last night I was at an event in London. We had a guy fight at welterweight. It was his pro debut, Lucas Laza. You will hear about him as time moves on, once he builds his profile up. Had a good amateur career. Had a tough opponent. The guy was really good with his hands, but Lucas, being Lucas, turned it into a real dirty, smother, grueling, gritty, grindy match, and lots of blood, lots of bruises, and lots of sweat. And his opponent couldn't come out for that final round, so the ref had to stop it. But good night.
Good start, I suppose.
Yeah.
So all you can do is
that's it. It's the last one of the year. I think we're 30-6 as a club for this year. 30 wins with 6
impressive,
losses.
isn't it?
It's not bad
because you've got quite a few fighters fighting at a very high level as well, haven't you? So to be that 30-6 is not bad at all.
Yeah, because even our amateurs, I mean, they're all defending or fighting for world and European and area championships. They're not just taking any old fights. We're not the type of people to build people's records through having fights that we know they can walk through. Every one that they have is a potential real battle.
Well, funny enough, when I spoke to Tom Mearns Thursday, which hasn't been released yet, but it will be out over the next week or two, he said himself when he came back from his injury, obviously it was a very serious injury, and it went viral on the internet because of the brutal nature of it. And he said he could have taken a nice easy fight to come back to, but it's not kind of in his character, and it's not the way he's trained and coached. He wants to push himself and challenge himself. So he had the one fight in the Cage Warrior show, and then he obviously went on the Bellator show. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way. But he was really honest in his assessment of it. He felt like he hadn't been up to his usual levels, but he also thought that the person he fought against wasn't really looking to win the fight. He was just looking to kind of stop Tom and slow the fight down.
That guy did exactly what he should do with Tom. Tom's another typical grinder. He's another person who likes to be in a fight. And if you want to start trading with him on that sort of situation, you're going to risk losing. It's on a big platform, Bellator, and this guy wanted the winner on his record to build his profile up, and he did exactly what I would do if I was going to train a guy to fight someone like Tom. I'd be saying, look, let's get this guy down, let's control him, let's not allow that line out the cage, so to speak. Let's keep him caged up with a tight game, and the guy did it really well. There's no two ways about it.
Absolutely, and Tom's got a pretty big name to take as well, and from the other fighter's name, it's a good result, obviously. And actually, funny enough, today Tyson Fury was asked what he thought of Anthony Joshua's recent win when he beat Ruiz to regain his titles, because he's obviously taken a bit of stick. And Tyson Fury said, "I would rather win being boring than lose and be entertaining." And I think that takes it on. I know that there's this certain expectation with fighters that people want to see entertaining fighters. I do get that. But at the end of the day, the game is to win, and the win your fights.
Yeah, it is that fine balance. I think when you make it towards the real top and you're starting to really get some good money behind you, I do also think that you are in the entertainment business, and you should. It'll do nothing but kill the sport if everyone thought, "Oh, I just want to play it safe and try to just get the win," or by doing it a boring. It's going to kill the sport. So luckily there's real varied characters out there, and you get your good fights, your bad fights, and obviously styles make fights too. I wasn't a fan of what I saw there with that boxing. It was
he did what he needed to, didn't he?
What was it, 80 million or something he got paid?
Ridiculous.
I think when you're getting paid that amount of money, man, you should perhaps be a little bit more entertaining, and perhaps you got a lot of people watching it. I don't know, we all have different views on it. I just don't think it's doing boxing any good. It certainly ain't doing his profile any good, boxing like that.
No, and my problem is if he tried to box like that against Tyson Fury, for instance,
Mm.
Tyson Fury would take him apart.
Yeah,
Um,
the
and
styles, isn't it?
I understand you've got to fight what's in front of you. And if he
Yeah.
had tried to do what he normally has done, where he tries to get in close
Mm.
and knock guys out, Ruiz would have caught him again because that's
Yeah.
what Ruiz wanted. And you could see there was a bit
Yeah.
of frustration from Ruiz because he wanted him in close and in the pocket and dirty. But
Yeah.
you can't. I suppose you don't want to, in any form of combat sports, you don't want to play into your opponent's
Of course not.
strengths.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's where it's sort of really
that
all up
fine
in the
line.
air. We don't control it. It's down to the two people that are in there to decide how that fight goes. And they can only, with the way Joshua did it, he could only hope that it worked, and it did. And just because of the way it was, he had to do something that kept it very clinical and very disengaging, to
Yeah, it
make it
was,
work.
wasn't.
Yeah, and it did. It worked. It got him back his belts, and it makes for probably a third fight at some point with him.
See, I don't think he'll take that fight. I think now it's between the three of them. It's Wilder,
Yeah.
Joshua, and
Mm.
Fury, and I think
Yeah.
they're the fights to go. I just
Yeah.
hope they don't do what like Mayweather and Pacquiao did, where they drag it out for 5 years and then they're all past their prime when they finally do it.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
like
This
to see it
happens.
next year. Let's see it happen next
Yeah.
year and see where we go with it.
It's happened too often in boxing throughout history, really, where the greatest just avoid each other, and then they end up facing each other past their prime. You're absolutely right, which is such a shame. We don't have that problem in MMA. In MMA, they're all ready to put it on the line no matter what, and that's one of the other reasons why I love this sport so much. So much is real honest. If you're the title holder, you're willing to fight anybody to defend that title, and if you're working your way up, you're willing to fight anyone to get the chance at that title shot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that about the MMA community.
Do you think that it's because in boxing you've got like the WBC and the WBCC, and there's so many organizations that it may, and then you've add in things like DAZN who've got like exclusive deals with boxers and
Yeah,
ESPN, and like there's so many of these organizations, and then when you add in all the exclusive TV deals, it just makes it very difficult to get these fights done
yeah. There's a
unless the
lot of
fighters really want it.
yeah. It's not. I just don't think it's even the fighters that are causing the issue. I think the fighters would initially fight anyone that
Yeah.
that's right to do so in regards to challenging them. I just think because there's so much money involved, there's a lot of people involved, and that's a lot of opinions involved, and trying to get everyone to say yes to something when there's an easier way out, such as creating your own championship or fighting for another belt, which is an easier route. Yeah, I just think it's down to a lot of other people behind the scenes on why these fights don't happen.
Yeah. So obviously we just mentioned there. I spoke to Tom. He's got another fight coming up in
Yes,
Dublin.
that's right.
So obviously he seems. When I spoke to him, he seemed exceptionally focused on getting back to where he feels that he should be. And
Yeah.
obviously he had that disappointing performance last time out. Um, what do you expect from that fight coming up?
Yeah, I'm just, the hope is that we're going to get rid of all of Tom's rust.
Yeah.
He kind of got away with it with his first comeback fight, and did well under the circumstances. We know his ankle was in a bad way, real bad shape before that fight. But he pulled off a win, against a reasonably tough guy. But of course, this last fight that he lost, this guy was, you know, uh, he's a good pedigree guy. He's someone that can take the win if you give him any kind of space to do so. And Tom just showed that he was rusty that night. That's the only thing I could say.
Yeah.
We started to see the pattern of the fight as it was unfolding round by round. This guy was going to shoot in on the hip, um, and keep taking Tom down and controlling him there. And Tom just couldn't create a response to defend it. So it just looked rusty. That's the only thing I can say. It's the only conclusion I can make of it. But we're back to the drawing board. We're going to put some wrongs right. Going to just get him a full healthy camp in and see what happens for this next one around. I've got high hopes for him for this next one. it's one of the SBG guys, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's going to
Do
be
you know much
interesting.
about Do you know much about his opponent at the moment?
Well, I know bits about him. You know, obviously seen his fights that are out there. I think stylistically, this suits Tom a lot better than the previous opponent. So just for that fact, it puts his percentage of, you know, getting that win more in his favour than previous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. It'd be great. It's a great team to fight up against, great opponent to fight up against, and on a great platform, right?
Yeah, yeah, and a lovely city as well.
Yes, yes. I'm looking forward to experiencing that.
Obviously, another exciting fight which you've got down at BST is Modestus. What's the plan? Or is that
Yeah.
top
Okay.
secret?
So, well, I mean, yeah, there's no real secret there yet, but obviously, you know, there's no secret in terms of where he wants to head. He wants to go UFC, and I think he will get there. You know, I can't say too much because I don't know that much, but
Yeah,
I do know that's where he wants to head. I know that his name's been bantered about on the UFC side of things, so it is something that's probably going to happen. But when and who with, I can't tell you. I just don't know that. But certainly, you know, is he ready for it? Yes, he is. Ready to be UFC champion? Well, no, not yet. But he's certainly ready for that UFC platform.
and potentially, obviously, he's a current champion in Cage Warriors, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
So what would happen with that? Would he give up that belt, or would he keep it for the
Yeah.
time being? Or
If he gets contracted with UFC, yeah, I don't think UFC allow you
yeah,
to fight
just
outside that contract. So yeah, if he gets contracted, that'll be it. But UFC, you know, they have been known to put people in for single fights,
yeah.
in which case he's
See
not
how they
under
go.
contract thereafter. So he continues to defend that belt because that belt means a lot to Modestas. But if the opportunity arose to go to UFC, that would mean more than the belt.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So do you think if it was when they do like the one fight kind of deal, is that basically like almost like a trial? Would you say?
Can be, yeah. I mean, for both parties, really, there could be a trial. You know, one to see whether he can perform on that platform, or does he need a few more fights, and for also UFC to see how he conducts himself under pressure of that sort of like that level step up and that extra pressure of knowing you're fighting on the UFC.
Yeah, of course.
And then, you know, contracts can come thereafter. You know, from what it seems, these single fight contracts normally come up because of some kind of short term take of a fight. Um, you know, if a fighter pulls out and then Modestas would step in. I mean, that's a typical scenario where that might happen.
Because there's I know there's a couple of there's Cage Warriors London coming up as well, isn't there,
Yeah,
soon? But I think I might be wrong. I'm sure there's a uh, UFC London in 2020 as well, I believe.
yeah, yeah, probably so. And they normally do something UK bound, don't they, every
15th,
year? So,
15th of March, there's
right,
a UFC card
yeah,
in London, so you never know.
it could happen.
So better get him on here before he gets signs and takes over the UFC. But sounds like 2020 could be a huge year for BST, mate.
Yeah, yeah. Well, each year has been huge. It just gets more huge each year. That's the
Yeah,
way I see it. We're on the way up. We're inflating in terms of our experience and our level. Um, yeah, we there's no limits. We're heading to the top. That's all I can say.
yeah. I think you could tell just by the caliber of the caliber of fighter. Obviously, we just spoke about two in Modestus
Mm.
and Tom. You've also got Jordan, who I'm not going to try and pronounce his surname because I don't want to
Yeah,
offend the
I
poor lad.
struggle.
But I was watching some clips actually of Jordan and Modestus the other day, and
Yeah,
they both look the real deal.
yeah.
Has he got fight coming up, Jordan, or anything coming up at the moment planned?
Again, there's things being spoke about. There's nothing concrete in the pipeline because we're just coming to the closing of another year.
Yeah, of course.
But all these options will start coming to light probably mid to late January. Then I'll have more of an idea on who's heading where to what promotions and what have you. But you know, in hindsight, you know, he's under Cage Warriors initially, so it'll be another Cage Warriors fight that we'll wait upon, and we just want to step up that level bit by bit. He's still a real young lad, so I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
throw him at the deep end. Although I think he could conduct himself very well at the highest level in terms of fighting on the platform of Cage Warriors, but I would just want him to keep gaining experience.
Yeah, how old is he? He is really young, isn't he?
Yeah, 22, 23, something like that. Real young, real young. He's still got, give yourself
There's
time to
time, isn't there?
develop physically. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I guess that's the the thing you've got to kind of judge and manage as your coaches and
yeah,
whatnot is knowing the right time for these fighters to make that jump, to the
yeah,
next level in terms of who they fight and what levels they fight at.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I guess there probably comes a point with all fighters where their ability and their talent will just negate,
mm.
will navigate that thing anyway, because they'll get to a point where they'll be so impressive that they'll,
Yeah, yeah.
things will happen.
Yeah, but that's just that's the pro side of things. I mean, on our amateurs, even more busy than our pros. You've got
Yeah,
a lot of grassroots guys coming up through the ranks. We've got numerous world champions on Battle Arena, which is one of the biggest amateur events across Europe. We've mopped up quite a lot of their titles over different weights. We've got some real young talents coming through. We've got Haddy, great striker. He hasn't got to showcase his ground skills, but trust me, he's got good ground skills as well. We've got Noah. He's an Albanian young lad, and he's just good
Tom
everywhere.
mentioned him actually.
Yeah, I mean, I see him. I'm not going to pick names, but we have different pros
Yeah,
come from all over, and bearing in mind some of these lads are just amateurs, or the lads I'm talking about are amateurs. They handle with these pros very, very nicely. To give you some idea of the caliber of these young lads as they come up through, and they're all just turned into their 20s. In fact, we've got one lad. He's 17 years old. He's really going to be something. I mean, he's nailing top level guys on the ground time and time again. And now with JP Graham and Lee Edwards, our striking coaches, working on his striking, he's now becoming a bit of a formidable young lad with the striking too. Yeah, some scary prospects coming through.
So, just lastly now, in terms of obviously like with BST or with other MMA coaching facilities, what sort of percentage of the amateurs which you'll have, within the club or whatever, what sort of percentage of those will turn pro and go on to do it, for a living?
Yeah, I mean, initially now, these young lads, they know what they want. They want to have some form of career. Normally, you shake anyone off at amateur, so not all of them go and progress to pro, but I'd certainly say 90% or more do. But then, when you look in the terms of the whole club, regards to the MMA classes, probably 90% don't compete at all.
Yeah,
They're there for the experience, the social aspect, the fitness, the confidence. Mustn't mistake our club as being purely a fight gym. It really isn't that. It's ultimately a gym for the masses. It's just that we do have a really good fighting format there, and we do produce fighters as well. We can take it literally from being a social for confidence building right up. If you want to take it to world class, you certainly can. But there's certainly no pressure to compete.
that's really good, because I think we talked about it before. Like,
Mm,
I've looked into it before at certain points where I've wanted my kids to sort of do like MMA training from a social
mm,
point of view and just kind of see where it goes. But I found it quite difficult to find somewhere local which do it.
mm.
And there is more and more places sort of popping up. But what I found is a lot of the places locally, you can't kind of get like a general MMA class. It's generally like, Brazilian jiu-jitsu or grappling
Yeah,
or
yeah.
karate, a certain martial arts. But I am happy to see that there are more and more popping up. And I think, like, you would know better than me, but I would assume there's more kids and people doing MMA as a social side than there's ever been, which is only good for
Yeah,
the sport.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I can ultimately only base it on the experience I have at our club. That's where
Mm.
I spend all my time. But yeah, there's many people there who come and just rub shoulders. We got some guys and girls that are definitely good enough to compete if they wanted to. It's just not their desire to do so. Um, they're happy to have a spar and train alongside the fighters. They just don't want to take it as far as putting themselves on the line with the pressure or the lifestyle of cutting weight. They just don't want that in their life, or maybe they just can't fit it in their lives. I mean, you have to really dedicate to even be a top amateur these days. It's really not for the faint-hearted. It's not easy to succeed at that level anymore.
Yeah, do you know what? You just reminded me of something which I was going to ask you about, and I forgot to tell you beforehand. So obviously, Paddy the Baddy Pimblett was due to have his comeback fight after being
Yes.
out for 18 months,
Yeah.
which was obviously a big deal for him because he'd been such an active fighter.
Yes.
So his initial opponent pulled out, so they
Hmm.
brought someone in. To replace him at relatively short notice.
Mm.
And then the fighter Joe Giananti was supposed to fight, came in, I think it was 13 pounds overweight.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And I think look, to me, if he knew a week out that he wasn't going to make weight.
Mm.
So to me, as someone who's not a fighter, not involved in MMA, not involved in anything like that, to me, the respectful thing to do to your opponent is to say, look, I'm not going to make weight,
Yeah.
but I might be able to make this weight. Could we do it at a catch weight? Because obviously, by not giving his opponent that respect and saying that he's
Yeah.
not going to make weight, Paddy still did his weight cut,
Yeah.
still cut the weight, still did everything, made sure he was ready for the fight.
Sure.
And I think I spoke to Paddy briefly after the weigh-ins, and I think why he was so angry and he ended up having a bit of a rant was that after they weighed in, his opponent sat down and started rehydrating and eating,
Yeah.
and he was a bit like, "You're not even going to go in the sauna or
No,
try
I
and."
know. Yeah, I
And
think it's a disgusting performance, to be honest. I feel really sorry for Paddy. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into preparing for any fight, but to have a fight when you've had a bit of a layoff, I see it with Tom Mearns. There's a lot of anxiety that comes along with it during your fight prep, because you really never know where you're at when you've had time out. And to go through that, losing your opponent first off, and then getting a potential stand-in that comes in way overweight. I mean, he wasn't even close. I don't know what the lad was playing at, coming in that heavy. Yeah, I just feel sorry for Paddy.
Paddy called it a tactical weight cut. In that, basically, the guy came for a holiday from America
Probably
and
so,
had the
yeah.
time of his life. But I mean, the other thing I noticed is once Paddy had a rant, which because he was frustrated, which you can
Mm.
understand, is then the other guy, Joe, had said, he said, "Well, I would have fought, so it's you who's refusing to fight." And Paddy
No,
was kind of saying, "Well, by the time the fight comes and you've rehydrated and eaten, you could be a stone heavier."
yeah,
And fighters, let's make no mistake, fighters put their lives on the line every time they fight.
yeah,
There's various things that can happen or go
yeah,
wrong or injuries, and you're being punched and kicked,
yeah.
and then to expect someone to take a fight when you've missed weight by that much and be a
Mm.
stone overweight, I don't think you can put any of the criticism, on Paddy's side for not taking that fight, in my
No,
opinion.
I mean, some people would have, patted Paddy on the back and say, how brave, how respectful for you to still take that fight if he took it. But the truth of the matter is, he should never take a fight like that. No way. I mean, okay, maybe if the guy really tried and he missed it by
Few
ounces,
couple
you
of
can kind
pounds
of
or
get that, yeah. But not that far out, no.
no.
Probably this guy was texting some English bird and he found a way to get over here
Yeah,
to meet up with her.
that's
I
it,
don't
innit?
know. We can only surmise. Only he really knows the truth of why he did what he did.
Yeah. Do you think the other thing is how much weight? So from a weigh-in, when someone say they make weight,
Yeah,
or from when they weigh in to the fight the next day, how
yeah.
much weight will a fighter put back on in that
Well, it
24-hour
does
period?
depend on what weight division you're in initially, but you don't want them putting on too much. So let's say featherweight, you're making around about 66 kilos on the day of the fight. When you're fighting on the day, you really don't want to be more than 71 kilos. Um, yeah, I think the perception used to be, try and be heavy as you can, but it's going to make you feel slow. It's not going to make you feel good when you're in there to bulk up too much.
Yeah, of course.
You got to find that balance, and there's a lot of scientific research now goes into the way you cut weight, the way you rehabilitate yourself, and I think now they've got rules, certainly within Bellator and I think possibly UFC as well, about how much weight you can put on now.
Right. Okay.
So, again, to keep everything healthy regards the fighters.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing, isn't it? With weight cutting, weight cutting's traumatic. Let's face it.
Yeah.
It can be very traumatic for the fighters, and I think it's vital that the MMA as a sport and companies and coaching teams and doctors, everyone who's involved, make it as safe as possible, but also as less traumatic as possible on the body. Because I think it was Tom when we were speaking about weight cut, and he said, that the longer period you can do the cut over, the less traumatic it is on the body, isn't it? If you're trying to cram it in the last couple of weeks, that's not going to be good for anyone, is it?
That's right. Yeah, it's definitely subtle. Subtle is good. It's a little bit like being deep underwater. You come up too quick, you're going to get the bends. You've got to get yourself acclimatized as you come up. And it's a little bit like that with the weight cut, really. You've got to acclimatize your body as you reduce your weight down. Then you've got to start nailing down your water load so that when you do lose the water, you're not losing, any deficit to your fitness. And when you get it right, it's a beautiful thing because you feel great on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we've had a nice little chat about the BST fighters, the weight cut. We've got through all that, and it was good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good thing. I like these shows, just because I can just fire little questions which pop into my head at you, and you can give me the answers.
I try my best.
I like it. It's good, and it's good for MMA fans, and it's good for casual MMA fans as well, who only watch the big shows. And they can hear someone like you who's got that experience and that knowledge to explain those things. And that's what I try to do, is I try to slip in questions which I think people who are not engrossed in MMA like on a daily basis, they might be interested in hearing the answers to.
Sure.
UFC 245. What was your big picture or your overall feelings with the show? Did you enjoy it or?
Oh my God, there was so many amazing matchups, and the matchups really didn't disappoint.
No, they didn't.
It was one of the better ones. I mean, UFC produced so many good shows, don't they? But this one was an amazing matchup regards to the card. So many big fights. Brilliant.
Well,
That's what we want, more of that.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I texted you yesterday and I said, this is unbelievable card. It's just loaded from top to bottom. And sometimes with these big cards, they can kind of fizzle out a bit and not be that great. Or the hype is a bit, you build it up to be this big, huge thing, and it's not always as good. But I thought that the majority of the fights were really, really good, and they were all different.
Yeah.
There was different aspects to each fight, which was enjoyable. And funny enough, I was looking at my notes for our last show for UFC 244, and one of the things we both said was that it was one of the best UFC shows for a while.
Yeah.
I feel like this one has kind of carried on that momentum of quality.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're just going to cover the main card, but was there anything you wanted to kind of pick up about the prelims or anything like that? Because I know you watched some of it.
Yeah, I tried to watch as many as I could. I'm just trying to think which one. One of the prelim one was that Matt Brown. Matt Brown retired, didn't he? And now he's come back. He was on a little bit of a tear. This guy always impresses me. He's not the most physical of dudes. He's not someone who beats you just because he's stronger and fitter. This guy just seems to fight so smart. And I was really impressed with the way he fought Ben Saunders. Really, because Ben Saunders is an awkward customer. This guy can bang on the feet, and he's got awkward ground, as we saw in that one. I don't know whether you see that one yourself.
I saw the end of it. I didn't see all of it.
He was using some rubber guard aspects and really tying Matt Brown up. But Matt Brown really played it cool. He always found an answer for any questions put to him by Ben, and come out victorious. I really like that one. I mean, Matt Brown's getting a little old now. He's 38.
Yeah, getting on a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's one of these guys. I feel kind of sorry for him. Really, he's one of these guys that always gets right to the cusp of being, number one, and just don't quite manage it. It's such a shame for him. But hey, 38. Who's to say he can't do it again? I mean, Randy Couture, he was champion older than that, so maybe Matt Brown can still come back and
Yeah, I
take
mean,
the
there's
title.
still, you just never know, because obviously you've got like Tito Ortiz fought the other day, so you just, there's
Yeah,
guys still going who are still, getting on a bit in age, in terms of age. I mean, not that I'm saying Tito Ortiz is going to win any titles anytime soon in terms of like the top level, but he's still going, should we
yeah,
say?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think he just fights that sort of feature fights now,
Yeah.
occasionally. I imagine he's whether he fights again even now. Maybe he just wants to end on. I mean, I don't know, but he
So
ain't going to be fighting for no big titles anymore. I
no,
don't think he would even want to.
who do you think would be well? Who do you think Matt Brown could move on to next? Do you think he could maybe try and take it up a level, go for like a
Yeah,
ranked opponent?
yeah, I think they should, should step him up. I mean, crikey, he's been there before. It's not like he's inexperienced in the matter, but if he's come out of retirement, he's come out of retirement for a reason, and
Yeah,
it's not just to fight; it's to get access to that title. So yeah, I think they should step him up. Regards who, that's a little bit of a difficult one. I'd have to have a little munch over on who's in that top 15. Um, but yeah, with someone like him, I wouldn't want say they have to rebuild him in any stretch.
no,
Because of his age and that, if they're going to give him a chance, give him a chance sooner rather than later.
that's right. And I mean, he knows what it's all about. He's been quite impressive
Yeah,
since he's come out of retirement. So
yeah,
you almost want to jump on that. I don't mean jump on the bandwagon, but get it while he's looking impressive and he's come out of
yeah,
retirement. There's no point in hanging around waiting.
yeah. Look, this guy's legit, and he's going to make a good fight of it, no matter who he's up against. He can perform great against good strikers, great against great grapplers, great wrestlers. He always finds a way of making it look good and look pretty. So yeah, I'd say let's step him up. Let's give him someone of real note, and maybe get him up to title status again.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And obviously the first fight on the main card featured another fighter who is getting up there a bit in age, but I thought he actually looked very impressive despite losing. We
Mm-hmm.
had, I'm going to butcher this name now, Patera Hyun versus
Yes.
Urijah Faber, which I thought was really enjoyable fight
Oh
from
man,
start
I
to finish.
absolutely enjoyed it as well. Yeah, I mean, when you look at on paper, at the age and other things, you would write your Faber off completely. And okay, he did lose, and Jan was pretty dominant throughout, but Uriah was always in there. And he wasn't looking to have an easy way out. He was there to fight. He was there to win. And I respect that dude, man. He's 40 years old, still in fantastic shape, really is. And yeah, really good fight. I mean, he'd done a really good long knee, didn't he, in the first round? Um, and he was throwing some kicks out there. But that Yan, he's just younger, fresher. And it's just everything he does had intent on it, and he showed patience as well. I think that's what impressed me about it. In some of the previous fights, he almost looked a little bit like he's rushing the striking, but in this one, he was holding back a little bit more. It's almost like, well, look, I'm up against this, Asian Uriah Faber, but I respect this guy. He definitely showed Uriah respect, and so he should have done. And he just held back, and he just slowly stepped the pace up as the fight went on, and eventually, took it too far for Uriah. I mean, he ended up with that nasty cut, didn't he?
Yeah, I think you've took the words right out of my mouth. Actually, I was just thinking as you said it. What impressed me the most about Jan was that he didn't just go steaming in.
Mm,
He bided his time and he waited.
yeah.
And he got caught by that knee by Faber. But as even the first round went on, Jan just picked his moments, caught him with a kick, caught him with a couple of jabs, and he was just he got. I think I'm not sure if it was the first round or the second round where I think it's the second round. He cracked him and he had a nasty cut on his eye.
Yeah.
And I got to say, when the first proper camera angle they showed of it, I thought, oh, they're going to stop that now because I
Mm,
was just so nasty. But fair
yeah.
play to Uriah Faber. He was not, he wanted to
Phew.
get straight back into it, didn't
What a warrior. And it's not like we didn't know he was a warrior. I mean,
he?
look
Yeah, of
what he
course.
went through with Aldo. all those leg kicks. No, when I was watching that fight, I never thought he was going to get to the end of it, but he did. He ate up all those leg kicks, and yeah, this guy impresses me. And one time, I think in one of his fights, he broke both hands.
Jesus.
I can't remember who it was against, but I know he was throwing loads of elbows, standing elbows. I mean, that just says
Takes
it all
balls,
about
doesn't
the
it?
character of the guy. Absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, this guy's not at the top of his game anymore, but certainly not doing bad at his age. And he's still put up a great fight against Yan. But Yan's a real prospect. He's not even big at the weight, this guy, but he hits so much harder than his size suggests. Really does bang hard, this kid.
Yeah, those high kicks look nasty.
Yeah, yeah.
And we'll see. So it's funny you mentioned the low kicks and those leg kicks. We'll see some brutal leg kicks later on in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fight kind of. I think whilst Faber had a couple of moments where he caught him, or he just looked dangerous, he never looked in danger of losing the fight, did he, Yan? He
No.
was in control at all times, really.
Yeah. I mean, Urijah was doing about all he could do, which was to throw things out there in the hope that it would start something off that could have created an end. But he just didn't get no tags on Yan. But Yan was getting the tags on him, and as the fight went on, more and more very quickly. And yeah, once he knocked him down that first time, he was just constantly on him, and it always looked like Urijah was going to struggle to make it to the end of the fight after that.
Yeah, towards the end of the second round, Yan dragged Faber back to the ground, and the referee kind of stopped it so the doctor could check the cut.
Yeah,
and I thought he was going to stop it there.
me too. Yeah,
But they carried on, and Yan attacked him with the ground and pound, and Faber scrambles to his feet, and
yeah,
you could see at that point, right at the end of the round, Faber, I say flustered. He wasn't panicking, but you could tell he was just trying to get to the end of the round.
yeah.
And Yan was, looking to put him away. He took him with another takedown. And then the round finished. And obviously the third round then didn't last too long. Yan took some swings at Faber. He attacked Faber with a high kick. Faber tried to clinch, and Yan leveled him with the head kick to force the referee to jump in.
Yeah.
Good stoppage. The right time.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was good. Urijah had nothing else to give. If it wasn't going to be finished, then it would moments or minutes later. Yeah, but overall, another good fight. Like I say, if you looked at that on paper, you could have been like, oh yeah, that's going to be, one-sided in a way where it was going to be over very, very quickly. But I've made a fight of it. With the way he was throwing those knees and a few of those kicks, and we all know about his overhands. He has some good overhands. It was always in there enough to keep you watching, thinking, I wonder whether he's going to nail Yan with just one of those. Yeah, he's an explosive guy. You're right, but no, it didn't happen for him. And the result speaks for itself, really.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see who they put Patera Yan against next. Obviously, he's ranked number 4.
Yeah.
And he's been very, very impressive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who they'll go with.
Yeah, I'm not sure who they'll go with.
That UFC bantamweight weight division is packed full of.
It is absolutely, but he can fight anyone at this stage now. No one's going to be out of his stretch to possibly beat. So whether it's going to be a title shot or whether it's going to be the number one contender that he fights, he's ready for anyone out there as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to see him get a title shot. I think obviously you've got Henry Cejudo is the man to beat and the champion.
Yeah.
You've got Marlon Moraes, who's in the next fight. Aljamain Sterling, Corey Sandhagen. There's fights there, and even some of the guys below Patera Yan, like Cody Garbrandt, and I think Cody Garbrandt's probably got a bit to prove before he would go.
Possibly so. Yeah.
He needs to win before he should get a shot at Yan. Maybe John Dodson is there. Who's just
yeah. I mean, he's kind of slipping out a little bit now, though, isn't he? He's coming out of it a little bit.
Be interesting who they go with. I would quite like to see Moraes maybe
Yeah,
or Aljamain Sterling. I think that could be a good matchup for
yeah,
Yan.
yeah,
Be interesting to see because I thought he was very impressive.
yeah. Whoever he fights, my money will be on him, I think, next time around.
Yeah. So next up we had Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo, who
Yeah,
dropped down to bantamweight, which
yeah. I mean,
I,
this
I
was.
had. Go on,
Yeah,
I
go
was
on.
just
Who
gonna.
did you have?
All I was gonna say is I had to say before I saw the weigh-ins and the fight, I was worried with how Jose Aldo was going to look coming down to bantamweight at his age. I thought he was going to look kind of gaunt and withdrawn.
Yeah,
Do you remember when Connor went down to?
yeah.
I can't remember what weight he went down to, but he
He's
went
fighting
down a weight
featherweight.
and he
Yeah,
looked dreadful.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He looked really gaunt and just not well. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I was worried about that. But to be fair to Aldo, he looked in rocking shape. He was in good shape. He
Yeah,
looked healthy. He
yeah.
didn't look too thin.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
good to
and
see.
when you say his age, he's still only 33.
It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah, which is crazy. He's just been around for a very long time, which I heard them say in the commentary. You know, yeah, I mean, normally as you get towards your mid-30s, if you're going to stay in the game, normally you would go up a weight. But yeah, he chose to go down. But it did seem to revitalise him. I thought he looked sharper and fresher and fitter than he has looked for a little while at featherweight. So, in terms of decisions on whether he was going to stay at the weight, go up a weight, or go down a weight, it does seem that going down a weight was the better option for him, regards how he was looking.
Yeah, I think so. I've got to say, I don't think up until this fight, I've not thought that he's looked the same since the Conor fight.
Absolutely.
I don't know
Mm,
whether it was a psychological thing that he got knocked, he got knocked out so
mm,
quickly, and it was such a big fight, and it took him a while to get over it.
mm.
But I agree with you. He looked a bit. I don't want to say sluggish because I don't want to see him, disrespectful to him, but he just hasn't looked the same at featherweight.
No.
Um, he's looked a lot better in this fight. Saying
Yes.
all that, of course, he lost. But
Yes.
one thing which did annoy me a bit in this was the commentary. They kind of made out throughout the fight that Aldo was comfortably winning,
Yeah.
and it kind of bugged me a bit because I
Mm,
thought I thought Aldo won it, but
mm,
I thought it was very close, and I felt like the commentary didn't paint and I get that Aldo is like a legend,
mm.
and everyone's got a great deal of respect for him, but to me, the announcers or the commentators, they should be, calling it as it
Yeah.
is. And I thought it was a lot closer than they kind of
Yeah. I
portrayed
thought
it.
the commentating actually on more than one occasion seemed a little bit off target.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Which is unusual for Joe. Joe Rogan, in particular, is normally, and DC. They're both very, very good.
Yeah, they
Um,
are. But and we will talk about it as and when the other fights come up. But there was another fight that DC was commentating on, and I was just like, just all seems a little bit biased. It's
yeah,
like almost he had a more favourable person, and it come through on his commentating, which shouldn't happen as a commentator. It's like being a referee. You can't be looking to side with one particular
no, of
fighter.
course.
You just want to hear their professional commentary. But yeah, it just seemed to get a little bit biased, and Joe Rogan kind of gets pulled along with that a little bit. But I think you're right with that fight. I think it was a whole lot closer than people were, or the commentators were making out. I think Aldo was doing really well. I did think he lost the fight myself. I know you say,
Yeah,
and we
I
all,
only just
you know,
thought
Fabio,
it was very
yeah,
close.
it was absolutely close. To me, Jesse Aldo lost the first round. He did get taken down as well, and Moraes come out with those astonishingly fast, powerful high kicks. I mean, they were scary. But Aldo showed great composure and not getting flustered with those. But what a comeback in that second round. Aldo started looking really good with his hands. Really, really good. You can tell, his boxing is of, good notable level. And I started to think, wow, he's really going to take over this fight, because Moraes has shown to fade as the rounds go on in
Yes.
previous fights. And I thought, you know what? I think Aldo's going to do this. But in that third and final round, Moraes started landing those single jabs, single cross hands. Um, the kicks as well he was throwing in the mix, and it just seemed to be enough to keep Aldo from being able to perform how he did in that second round.
Yeah, I thought he did well to keep the distance in that third round. He didn't allow Aldo to really get on top of him, like you say, like he had done in that second round. The one thing I thought I was surprised that Aldo didn't use as much was those low kicks. He didn't really utilize them.
I don't think he's able to. If you watch back the fight, Myers was using, a lot of sidestepping left and right continuously, and of course you're never on centre line then. If you stand in front of someone like Aldo, you're going to be in for a devastating night. He's going to hack your legs up just like you're a static tree with an axe going into it. He's going to knock you and chop you down. But this guy knows about his leg kicks, and he totally took away that aspect of Aldo. Aldo had to use his feet to constantly track and find Moraes. So in terms of trying to stop him from being effective with the leg kicks, that footwork certainly did it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that second round in particular, we really saw Jose Aldo being Jose Aldo for the first time. And like I say, I know it's a long time ago, but I do go back to that Conor fight. I just feel like he hasn't been able to, and I know he's won since then.
Yeah.
But to me, he just hasn't looked the same.
No, he's always looked unstoppable, hasn't he?
Maybe it is
for a decade, he was looking just unstoppable. Every fight you watched him in, you was just waiting for him to either finish him or just to take centre dominance and just steal away round after round. But he just doesn't seem to have found that rhythm. You just can't guarantee whether he's going to win, round by round, let alone the whole fight. It just seems to be struggling. But as much as he struggled, this guy was number one contender, I believe. So it's not like he's gone down weight and warmed up at all. He's gone straight into a number one contender. So for that part, Jose Aldo's certainly still up there and still a threat. But he just didn't get the decision he wants. What he's going to do here on out, I don't know. I don't know whether he's going to carry on or what he wants to do. He's going to obviously reprove himself at this new weight.
Yeah, I think, judging by his performance, I feel like maybe going to Bantamweight would be a good idea for him. There's fights there for him, like we just mentioned. There's plenty of good fights there for him, which he could take on. So you think Moraes had the first round?
Yes.
Obviously, he scored a takedown right at the end of the round
as well.
So I can see that, and like I said, whilst I thought Aldo won it, it was so close that I wouldn't dispute.
It was close. Yeah, it was close, and I mean, like I say, it was that close. The thing that you can say for Aldo in that third and final round, because it was one round apiece. Would you agree? The first round going to Myers, second round went to Aldo. He outworked him, landed combination with the hands, but in that third round, Aldo was dominating in regards to footwork and keeping Myers on the outskirts, but he was receiving, scoring shots. He was getting landed upon. Not like really, really frequently, but frequently enough. Every time he come in to try to find Moraes was finding him.
Yes.
And it just felt like, he was trying to always chase to even up the round rather than chasing to put the round away.
I was just looking at my notes actually for the third round, and it kind of goes along with that. It's a lot of Aldo kind of coming in and getting caught with a jab, and Moraes was responding with a few jabs of his own, and Aldo wasn't able to land anything of his. He did try. He hit him with a short right, and he tried to hit a flying knee, but he only really backed him up rather than connecting, and then.
Yeah, listen, when someone's doing side-to-side footwork as much as Moraes was doing, it's really hard to land a leg kick. But to try and land a flying knee when someone's zigzagging like that, it's just not going to happen.
Were you impressed by his footwork, Moraes? Do you think it was really, really good footwork?
There was nothing complex in terms of, like, was he slipping and countering shots from Aldo? No, he wasn't doing nothing complex. But he was using the shape of the cage. It was pretty much a circle. And he was using it so he's not stood in front of Aldo. Aldo's footwork has never looked good regards coming forward. He's always been a good counter fighter. And this is the only thing that goes against him a little bit, being in this division. You know, as you go down the weights, you know, the guy's footwork becomes amazing. You know, I mean, they're real live wires. He's never had floating footwork. He's very flat-footed. He likes to sit down on his shots, so he's got power behind his hands. He likes to sit down on his kicks, so he's got power behind his kicks. And to be able to do it at the velocity that he's been doing in the past, you know, you've got to be fairly stagnant, you know, to put that power in. And I think this is what's happened. I think that, you know, he's become predictable, and people have found a way around him. You know, to me, you know, you can have good champions, great champions, and then you can get the extra standards, and they're the ones that keep adapting. And if, you know, just to point out as an example of someone to me who keeps always adapting, will be someone like GSP. He'll always seem to find a new way to siphon a striker, to siphon a wrestler, or to siphon a really good grappler. Seems to always find the answers.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be very, very interesting to see what Aldo goes next, because, you know,
Yeah,
there's fights at bantamweight, there's fights at featherweight for him as well.
of
You know,
course.
he's still Jose Aldo.
Yep.
I fancy that he might at least try another fight, another go at bantamweight,
Yeah,
because
I
he
think so.
did look sharp, and
Yeah.
you know, like we've said, and like everyone has said, it could have gone the other way by the judges.
Mm.
You know, there wouldn't have been too many complaints if it had gone that other way. So, you know, it's not like he came down and got knocked out.
Yeah.
So it's worth probably, you know,
Yeah,
having
very
another go
close
with it.
fight against the number one contender at that weight. Not a bad performance, but
No.
I just think sometimes we're a bit hard on Aldo because he, you know, was such a legend at featherweight, so dominant for like a decade. That, you know, maybe we're a little bit harsh on him, but you know, just to reiterate, this guy looked the best he's looked in a number of years, and to me that's only ever a good thing. So let's give this guy another chance. Let's, you know, put him up against someone else in that sort of top 6, top 7, see how he performs, and build him back up. And maybe, you never know, he might get another shot at a title at some point.
Well, you know, him versus, if you could get Aldo on a winning trail, get a couple of wins under his
Yeah.
belt at bantamweight, him versus Cejudo would be the money fight, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, that'd be a great one. That'd be a great one. You know, because Aldo's notoriously hard to take down. I know he got taken down in that fight in an unusual manner,
Yeah, it was
but
a bit weird, wasn't it?
he's notoriously very hard to take down. Would Cejudo be able to take him down like he has so many of his opponents? And you know, if he can't, can he deal with Aldo's striking? And indeed, you know, what would Aldo be like over 5 rounds at this new
Yeah.
weight? So there's so many questions still to be answered for Aldo down at this weight. So is his career done? No, it's not. If it was, it ain't a disappointing career no matter what. But there's
No.
still fight left in him. He's 33 years old. That's not to say it's too old. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it just needs to get that winning thread back now at bantamweight. In
Yeah.
terms of Mariah's, obviously, I would assume he's going to get a title shot next.
Oh yeah, you have to give him the title shot. You have
He
to.
was number one contender going in, and he won.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so next up is the women's bantamweight championship. Now, to me, this was the most enjoyable fight of the night for me. Even
Yeah.
though I'd say the main event was probably the fight of the night,
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed this. This
Yes, me
fight
too.
from a technical point of view, from a wrestling point of view, just everything was very, very interesting.
Yes.
So we start off. Nunes starts like a bit of like a house on fire. She cracks her with
Wow.
an overhand
Yeah.
right. She's kind of swinging away. She gets with some ground and pound, and then Durandamine scrambles to her feet, and Nunes catches her in a guillotine choke,
Yeah.
and then she manages to escape that, and both fighters are up,
Yeah.
and she's got her against the cage, and
Yeah.
it's like a bit of a scramble, and it ends up with Nunes is settled into the guard of Durandamine, and she's nailing her with some
Oh, wow.
real big
Yeah.
strikes.
Yeah. Well, when you say nailing, to me, nailing's getting them clean in the face. She just was not getting through that guard.
Yeah,
Um, you know, some fights, you know, the referee perhaps would call time on some of that kind of ground and pound, but yeah, wrongly or rightly, you know, it could almost been looked as not being intelligent, defending in that way. But you know, the ref didn't step in and stop it all. But at some points, I was like, oh, could the ref call time on this? She really was going to town, but you know, nothing was really getting conclusively through. But she weathered the storm. and she got through that round. And I was always worried. I say worried. My interesting aspect of this fight was, would Nunes be able to go through those 5 rounds without beginning to fade, and then the long, rangy Jermaine take hold in the later rounds? And it almost did go like that at some point. But a theme began to show itself from round 1 and become more and more apparent as the rounds went through. And that was the lack of wrestling ability for Jermaine. That could have been such a different result had a takedown of defense been a little bit more on point. It's not even about the grappling, although that could have been, improved as well. Definitely could have done something in regards having a better takedown defense, because there was nothing super complex about them. She was shooting in doubles, doing leg trips, and falling for it, hook, line, and sinker every single time.
Yeah. There was one really nice trip, I think it was in the second round, where she was trying to take it down and Durandamine blocked it. And it was almost like she thought, oh, I've blocked it. And then Nunes just slipped her leg around the back and tripped her.
Yes, that's right.
Really,
She did, yeah.
really smoothly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that first round, the pace that Nunes came out and the ferocity of the strikers and the ground and pound.
Yeah.
I did wonder whether she'd be able to keep that up. But then I also wondered if that happened again, would the ref step in? Now, one thing I was going to ask you is, obviously, you're right in that when I said she was nailing it, it was more the ferocity of it rather than she wasn't hitting her clean. She had both arms up. She was covering, her head. She was protecting herself.
Yes.
But like you said, some refs would have stopped it because of how hard the strikes were, how many the strikes there were.
Right.
But to me, she's defending herself. Now, what do you think about that? Like, she was legitimately defending herself to the strikes, wasn't she?
The way I see this was, if nothing had got through in the first place and she's just defending tight, it's almost like someone having closed guard, wrapping up the arms and stooling the fight till it gets stood back to its feet. Okay, so just blocking all the attacks that are coming to you is not the greatest looking thing in the world, and it's not going to do anything for you regards to scorecard, but it is letting you survive. And over a 5-round fight is just letting someone punch their way out. So you could try and look at this in terms of a boxing fight. Someone could come out for the first 2 or 3 rounds really laying into someone, and that someone, that opponent could just defend tight on the ropes and just let the guy punch themselves out, a little bit like Ali did years and years ago with Foreman. It was almost like that, and that's what began to worry me. I was like, well, nothing's got through. Now, had one punch really slipped through or one elbow really slipped through and then she was covering up, I think the ref may have stepped in to stop it. But the fact that nothing really was conclusive led to her having that tight defense. That tight defense was there just to stop any damage happening. But had damage happened and then she had to defend thereafter, that could have been stopped. But she was not in trouble. So to let the fight carry on, I think was a good call.
Yeah, I agree. The second round, Durandamine came out and her strikes were immediately a lot better. They were landing. She landed a nice head kick, not clean, but it just kind of stumbled Nunes a little bit, so that I think it just let her know that she was still in this. And obviously, as the fight developed, you saw Nunes in more trouble than she's had in a very long time.
Yes.
But it was from the strikes. Every time she got it to the ground, there was no real there was no real like technical defense or moving through the guard or anything like that. Or she was attacking from underneath with strikes. She nearly hit her actually with a couple of up kicks a couple of times as Nunes was trying to posture and trying to get through.
Had me on the edge of my seat.
Twice. There was one and she caught her right under the chin and I thought, oh my God, she's going to end up knocking her out from on the floor. But it was exciting fight. And I know sometimes the crowds turn when it's on the floor. But I thought it was really exciting because Nunes was trying to get through that, trying to get her ground and pound going, and she was trying to get through the guard. And then you had the added aspect of Durandamine had those up kicks, which a couple of times came close. And then every time it went to back up onto the feet, de Randamie started to find her range and look dangerous. So
absolutely. In fact, when I take the whole fight on reflection, de Randamie looked like the one that was almost more potentially dangerous to put in the fight away. I know she had a terrible first round, but like we just discussed, there was nothing that really made it look like she was going to get put away by any actual strike. She was just defending so tightly, so well. But of course, defending don't win fights, and the rounds got slipped away because she was defending so much regards to ground scenarios. There was one other aspect that I think could have definitely have changed this fight, would have been her ability to do get-ups. Now, one of the things that we worked with Modestas was it takes a while to become a decent defensive wrestler. You're still going to get taken down in your fights as you develop. So one of the things you do work on is accepting that you might get taken down, but work on your get-ups to make that takedown not have any value for the wrestler.
Yeah.
She sometimes just settled for a back. She was not fighting to stand up, and it made those rounds slip away. So, of course, Nunes, in every round that she ever felt a bit uncomfortable on the feet, always could sit back on the comfort of knowing that she can shoot and probably get her down, and she probably will, and she indeed did. So it took away the pressure that she could have had on the feet. de Randamie, I think, could have possibly put this fight away had she been able to stay on the feet a little bit longer with either get-ups or better defensive wrestling.
Yeah, it's interesting actually because the second round, de Randamie started really well. She hit that leg kick, and then obviously because she stumbled her a little bit, she didn't rock her, but she just stumbled her a little bit. Nunes took her down straight away.
Yes.
But what de Randamie did is she was ready for it, and she locked her up. She pulled her close, and she wouldn't let her get any until the ref stood him up.
Yeah.
Of course, that it's very basic defense, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And she obviously wanted to be on the feet, so that worked in her favor. But also, it's exactly what you just said about the round slipped away then. Whereas before that and after that, when she was on her feet, she looked dangerous. But because she didn't have the ability to do anything in the grapple or on the floor, or it did slip away. And did you have Nunes win every round?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
I think I had de Randamie win the second round. I think.
Okay, yeah, possibly so. She, if she was going to win any of the rounds, it would have been that one. De Randamie was doing really well up against the fence defensively.
Yes.
She was creating really good frame with her forearm, and she was posting on the head, making it really hard for Nunes to transition and drop levels on her. And always looked like she's threatening with the knees and breaking free back out into the open. So that part of the game was looking good. Unfortunately, our outward wrestling responses were not there, and that eventually, put her hopes of winning the fight to bed as the rounds progressed.
Yeah, and I mean, throughout the fight, Nunes, I think, had her in a choke at one point. She had her in a triangle at one point. I think it was round 4.
Yeah,
they had a bit of a scramble, and de Randamie ended up with Nunes in a triangle choke.
Yep. Yeah, I actually forgot about that, but you're right. Yeah,
she couldn't quite get it in tight enough, and I don't know whether it was like a technique flaw that she couldn't get it in, or whether it, the position wasn't there. But I mean, go on.
Yeah, I'd say she knows how to do a triangle and finish, but that's if the person who's in the triangle doesn't know all the cunning little tricks to prevent being choked and potentially defending it. Nunes is no slouch on the ground. We could see that. She was just too well equipped defensively, and although she would know how to finish a basic triangle, she obviously didn't know how to transition with it, and stopped Nunes's tactics to avoid being choked out with it. She just didn't truly look in danger. Although I was like, the triangle's been whipped up. It just didn't look like it was ever going to be finished.
No. Did you think Nunes could have done more in the later rounds to try and finish it, or do you think she did everything she could to do that?
I think once she stuck in that amount of energy she did in the first round, that probably hampered her ability to put her away in any of the other rounds thereafter. Because that first round, that was really physical.
Electric.
Really, really physical. Yeah. Um, but still, dominant over each round, but did at times look vulnerable. I think sometimes her strategy regards going into that open guard with those kick-ups was a little bit unnecessary. She was way ahead on the scorecard, and right at the very end of that fifth and final round, she went jumping in to try and pass that guard with punches, and one skimmed past her chin. I mean, any one of those could have been something that would have avalanched her into a quick demise. So unnecessary risk, I would say, doing that. Step back out, just kick the legs, absorb more minutes of that round in a proactive position. But she kept going in with the hands, and those long legs of Durandamy, dangerous.
Could have caught
dangerous. Her. Yeah.
Yeah, and that would have been disastrous, as if right at the end of the fifth round, when you're winning, 4 rounds to 1 at least, probably all 5 on most cards.
Yeah, right.
And try and scramble for a ground and pound and get caught with an up kick.
Oh, how embarrassing to be leading so dominantly throughout the fight to throw it away, possibly with an up kick. Yeah, that would have been a little bit embarrassing. I don't know if you ever remember, and we're talking way back now, so some of the older fans of MMA would have remembered Renzo Gracie fighting Oleg Taktarov. Don't know if you remember this. I mean, they kind of looked at 2 different weight classes. Well, Oleg, being the bigger man, had Renzo Gracie down on the ground, but he tried to engage on that open guard where Oleg was stood up and Renzo was down, and he got up kicked and it knocked him clean cold, really nasty. So yeah, you have to be respectful. I mean, that uppercuts with the leg, not a nice prospect.
No, and I thought I was happy for Durandamy because I felt like in the first fight that she didn't do herself justice. I thought she looked dangerous on her feet. So I'm glad, she took it to 5 rounds. She was dangerous in the strikes, but I think if you're going to go at Nunes, if someone's going to beat Nunes, and it's going to be on the floor, they've got to have a higher level of wrestling and grappling.
Nunes she's a complete package. She's got knockout power. She's got good technical striking. She can wrestle. She can grapple, and she's tough, and always in good shape as well. She is really well rounded. But the nice thing about the women's division now is, rather than having one woman who's just absolutely dominating it, like we did with Ronda Rousey, she dominated there's now a whole pool of women in each weight division that could all potentially run each other close. And you're beginning to see these female fights looking more and more like the male fights, in that they're so close in contention at that higher end, in that top sort of 7. They're all looking really good now and looking more complete. For Durandamy, going through these 5 rounds, did expose some weaknesses in her game. And if the camp is a good camp that she's under, they should make clear adjustments. And I think if they fight again, which I think they will do in the very near future, that could be a very different result.
Yeah, I think I'd quite like to see Aspen Ladd get a go at Nunes next.
Yes, that would be a good one for sure.
I think that would be a really exciting fight. But the women's division, I was just having a quick nose then at the bantamweight, and the strawweight looks tasty as well. Featherweight, all the women's divisions look like a featherweight. Obviously, is nothing because it was the featherweight was effectively made for Cyborg. She didn't want to cut the weight and she wanted the title. And then she lost and left. So it's a worthless title because I say worthless because Nunes is the featherweight champion. She's a double champ, but she deserves it because she beat Cyborg. But really, it's only going to be if someone from bantamweight fights at featherweight, or they bring in a featherweight fighter from.
I don't know what they're going to do with that. I mean, there's still developments to be made with the women's divisions, but initially, with the fights and the matchups, we're getting our money's worth. I think some of the women's fights are putting on better performances than a lot of the men in terms of their enjoyment for viewing. I really like watching them. So much goes on in every fight. They're so fit and gnarly. They've got so much heart. I'm really impressed by what these girls are doing.
Yeah, even like in the flyweight, you got Valentina Shevchenko, Just
Yeah,
looks,
I mean, she's a
looks
standout, absolutely.
dominant. And then you've got the Chinese lady at strawweight, who I can't pronounce her name,
Yeah,
Zhang Quili.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you've got like Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade,
Mm.
Tatiana Suarez, Joanna John Jacek. You
Oh,
know,
you're
there's
doing well with the names. You're doing well. You're
it's
doing
doing
better than
pretty
I
good. I
would.
just reeled them off quick, but like there's some top fighters there in those divisions, and they just, like you say, the fights for the women lately have just been very, very exciting to watch.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think there's going to become more and more attention applied to the female bouts, and I think you're going to see more of the women's matches headlining UFC shows.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah,
Next was the UFC featherweight championship match, which was Max Holloway, the champion, versus
yeah. I mean this.
Alexander Volkanovski. What a
Yeah,
fight!
I mean this got kind of swallowed up with all the hype of Colby, didn't it?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I had to remind myself, oh, we got Max Holloway fighting. I mean, this match was, in hindsight, was like probably the one that excited me the most in terms of like who is going to win this. I mean, Max Holloway's been so dominant, hasn't he? And looked so
yeah,
good. He had his attempt at going up a weight that kind of didn't work out for him. So going back down to the weight that I think he's more successful with. But um, Volkanovski, he's someone who could always match Holloway regards cardio. Holloway's got such good cardio. He's really tall and rangy, so he can kind of control the pace as well. Particularly like when he fought people like Edgar, who's also really fit, but he could just keep him at range, and so no one could ever really press him. But Alexandra, he's got fitness to match anybody, but absolute opposites in body composition, and that's what was going to make it. Can one float in, float out, and do the damage and get out in terms of Alexandra, or is Max Holloway going to stay on the outside and pick him away at range? Because both of them were fit enough to keep trying to enforce their game plan. Wow! And from the get go, it was fireworks. And the way that first round went was really setting a theme throughout the rounds with the molds adjustments. You could tell they was really trying to figure each other out. But leg kicks come into the game, which we're seeing more and more and more, but they weren't calf kicks. They were a mix of inside leg, outside leg, on the shin sometimes and up on the thigh. But it is the speed of Volkanovski of getting in and out without getting caught very often by Holloway. And that's what impressed me with that first round. He was in and out, he was dropping damage, and he racked up an incredible amount of kicks on the leg of Max Holloway. Brilliant first round. I don't think I've seen Max Holloway lose a round like that for many years.
yeah. It was really interesting because Holloway's been so dominant, and before his previous loss, when he went to a different weight class, he was literally just taking people apart from distance.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whereas Volkanovski, in that first round, particularly by the end of the first sort of into the second round, you could see the swelling
Yeah,
on Max Holloway's leg and the inside of his leg, particularly.
yeah,
And you can't always see that from the general camera shots until they focus in on it, and you could see the redness on his leg
yeah,
because it, like you said, it was the speed at those kicks, and
mm,
every strike, punch, kick that Volkanovski did, it was done and he was out.
yeah,
Holloway just he couldn't quite get his timing right to catch him as he
yeah,
came in, and
yeah,
but when he tried to counter, he was gone.
yeah.
I thought he was really, really impressive. Volkanovski, really impressive.
Yeah, he did. But there were adjustments being made and they were subtle. And Max Holloway started to trying to go at the body
Mm.
of Volkanovski. An absolute good call to try and slow him down. Um, he's still struggling with the timing, but I feel that as the second round started to play out, although it was very much like the first, it's almost like you could see hopes of Max trying to figure out a way of trying to get to Volkanovski. But you just wondered whether he's going to figure him out too late in the rounds,
Yeah,
uh, you know, or try and find some form early on and maybe take it from round 3, 4, and 5. I always thought as the rounds were progressing, Max is going to switch it up. He's going to do something different. He did. He had to switch stance, but not for a good reason, but because that leg took too much damage. But he actually started becoming effective, didn't he? When he switched that stance, he started landing that cross hand, and I started thinking things were going to change. But of course, Volkanovski started eating up that other leg.
Yeah. Those
Incredible.
kicks, they were so dangerous throughout. And like you say, when he switched stance, Holloway did seem to gain a bit of an advantage from his striking point of view. But yeah, he switched the stance because his leg was messed up. And then
Sure.
obviously he went to work on the other leg.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I was surprised by Volkanovski because I knew he was a top fighter, but I was a bit surprised with not him as such, but how much he dominated the fight against Holloway. Because I did have him. I think I had him winning every round.
Yeah.
Let me just check. Yeah, I had him winning every round, which I
Yeah.
didn't expect going in
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Holloway's been so dominant.
Sure.
No, obviously that's 2 losses in a row for Holloway.
Yeah.
That's unexpected when you think about what he did to Brian Ortega.
Yeah.
When he just destroyed him, didn't he?
Yeah.
He
Yeah. He
messed
did.
up his face, he messed up his leg, he was a bloody mess. And you just, at that point, everyone was saying he's unbeatable. No one's going to be able to beat him.
Yeah.
And then here we are, months later, he's taken 2
Yeah.
losses. I know you could, he went up a weight,
Yeah.
so slightly different, but he's still taken 2 losses. I was just trying to, I think it was round 3. Volkanovski nailed like a multiple right hands.
Yeah.
And Holloway he was still throwing to try and keep Volkanovski distance, but he's just the speed that he was getting in.
Yeah.
And every time Holloway managed to keep a bit of distance between him, he would attack those legs. So
Yeah.
it was almost like Holloway was trying to keep the distance to do it, to take the fight his way. But then Volkanovski would adapt and go back to the leg kicks, which would cause Max a big problem.
Yeah.
With both legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very clever.
Yeah, it was. But I think by the time we sort of got to that round 3, you did see that maybe it was either the pace, the amount of power that Volkanovski was putting into all those kicks began to telltale. Although he never looked fatigued, but the sting in his kicks did start to reduce, particularly in round 4 and 5. So although he was landing still on that damaged leg, it just didn't seem to be impacting Max. And Max started getting his successes. He was really trying to go at that body. He tried to go at the body with a side kick or a jumping back kick or something like that. He was obviously had a game plan to slow him down, and it did appear to work of sorts, but just a little bit too late. And I think if you looked on the scoring regards to the strikes, Volkanovski was still, beating him on the amount of strikes being landed per round. Yeah, I mean, what an interesting bout. But I hope these two get it on again later down the line, because it'd be interesting to see whether adjustments are made, because Holloway did start to look like he was going to have successes in those last 2 rounds.
Yeah, the 5th round particularly, Holloway came out. He was attacking Volkanovski with a few kicks. Holloway charged forward and he swung away at Volkanovski again. Which, again, then you thought, oh, here comes Holloway now. He's going to, he popped in with a couple of rights to the midsection, and you're thinking, here we go. And then Volkanovski again went back to those low kicks.
Yeah.
But Holloway was able to sort of eat it and then come back with those. I think he nailed him with one to the kind of the ribs, and he was trying to get him slowed down. And then you could see he was trying to set him up by going to the body. And he got a bit of success, like you said, in that 5th round. But Volkanovski was very clever. He put him up against the cage, which reduced that ability for Holloway to really get into his body properly. Or hit him from distance. And he nailed him with a quite nasty elbow strike to the head in that 5th round. Volkanovski hit him. But there was a bit of a wild striking exchange as well towards the end. which you got to get with these two, obviously. Do you think, would you have had a Volkanovski every round? I
Yeah,
had it
pretty
at
much.
50,
Yeah,
50, 45, I had it.
yeah, pretty much. It's hard to say any of them really went against him. He was just successful doing the same thing, although less so in round 4 and 5. He still looked like the dangerous man out of the pair. Yeah, shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised he had the ability to win. I think that was always potentially there for both parties. But I just didn't expect Holloway to lose round after round after round and not figure a way back into it because like we've been saying, he's been looking so dominant at that weight. But, you know, a new man has come around. It'd be interesting. They're going to face again in the future, I'm sure. And, yeah, adjustments will be made on both sides, I'm sure, for when they next face each other. But ooh, I think, yeah, even though it's been the way it is, if they fight again, my money is going to be on Max. I just think he can find a way out. Maybe, I don't know.
Thing is, he's proven to be so adaptable over the
Yes,
years to
he
whoever he
has.
fights, and he's
Yeah,
proven to be so dominant, like we've said.
yeah,
It's difficult to bet against him, isn't it?
yeah,
Like I was just looking at this featherweight division. Jeez, what a division!
yeah.
So you've got
That's
Volkanovski
stacked.
is obviously the champion now. Then you've got Brian Ortega, who's ranked number 2.
Yeah.
Aldo 3. Margo Murdashibripov. I pronounced that wrong, but he is an incredible fighter. Zabit, we'll call him. Zabit is incredible, and I would actually really, really like to see Zabit versus Volkanovski. I think
Yeah.
that could be
I mean, do you look at those body
fireworks.
comp? You got someone who's what 6'1", 6'1 and a half.
Mm.
Isn't he? He's really tall, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
Zabit?
yeah. He's
And then yeah, and you got
quite
he's
slight.
5'6". Yeah,
And
I mean,
then
what would happen in that match?
it'd be unbelievable. Then you got like Yaya Rodriguez, you got Frankie Edgar, you got Meccano,
Mm,
and then that's without including, like the likes of Conor McGregor at featherweight. You don't
mm.
know what he's going to do. Obviously, he's fighting welterweight.
Yeah, I mean that's a surprise. I
And then,
thought I mean that's an interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I'm a little bit surprised he's doing it at 170. I mean, what's with him in this 170 division? I just think that puts it more in Cowboys' favour.
yeah, we got a question on it actually, which we'll get to in a bit. But I've got a theory that I think they wanted Colby to beat Usman,
Yeah,
Connor to beat Cowboy, and then Colby Covington versus Conor McGregor,
yeah,
um, from the UFC's point of view. But
yeah,
I don't really understand it, because to me, Dana White has said that he wants to place the winner of Khabib and Tony Ferguson versus the winner of Connor and Cerrone. Now,
yeah,
to me, that makes sense. Do it at lightweight.
yeah,
Cerrone's in the lightweight rankings. I think he's 5th or
yeah,
6th, and Connor's 3rd or 4th or
yeah,
3rd. So it makes sense for them to do it at lightweight. It doesn't really make sense to me why they would do it at welterweight.
yeah. I mean, baffling.
It's a
Yeah,
strange one, isn't it?
whether it's Connor just don't want to do any kind of weight cut and just come back in
Mm.
feeling as strong as sharp as possible. I don't know, but Schrone's he's a naturally bigger guy.
Yeah,
Don't know. We'll see.
he's going to be a good
Yeah,
fight. I can tell you.
yeah.
I think that much at least.
I'm
Uh,
glad Connor's back. He's been great for the sport. Love him or loathe him. I've always really liked the guy. I like his fighting style. Um, I just think he just brings extra bit of fireworks to the display.
well, let's face it. If we could get Conor McGregor back to his best, that's nothing but good for MMA, because
Yeah,
there's some big, huge fights out there for him, whether
yeah,
it's a Diaz trilogy match, Khabib rematch, Ferguson. I think Ferguson Connor would be an amazing fight.
yeah,
And then you've got the Cowboy event, you've got, the likes of, I forgot his name now, but you've got like obviously the welterweights there as well. There's a
yeah,
couple of good fights there if he
yeah.
wants to go in that direction. It's interesting.
Absolutely, yeah,
So speaking of welterweights, the main event of the evening.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Kamaru Usman versus
yeah,
Colby
so
Covington.
exciting. Yeah, so
What a
exciting, this
fight.
one. Yeah. I just didn't know who to call on it. Um, yeah. Who did I want to win? I think I wanted Colby to win. For what reasons? Maybe he's trash talking. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but I was kind of wanting him to win it. I think they both obviously have the potential to beat each other on any given day. Yeah, first round started out. You know what surprised me? There was hardly any type of clinching, any kind of attempt at doing takedowns, and they're both wrestlers. How crazy is that?
No, for the whole
They just
fight,
stop.
there was nothing.
No, and from the get go in the first round, man, they were just laying it down. They were throwing hands, kicks, knees. They were throwing it all at each other, and I've just thought, it just didn't disappoint. I mean, it wasn't like they were both, shooting the load in the first round. They're both showing some composure, considering all the tension built up in this. It
Mm.
wasn't like they was having a playground scrap. They were both trying to figure each other out, but not by waiting or pausing or just fainting. They were throwing down. It was a great first round. Yeah, who would give it? I maybe edged it for Colby, but that was just so close to call. I don't know who you give the first round to.
I had Colby for the first round.
Yeah,
I expected Usman to come out like Nunes did, just because there was a bit of needle, and
yeah,
I thought he would come out and try and crack him early.
yeah.
And like you said, they were both patient, but patient in a way where they were just exchanging
Yeah,
strikes.
it was a
It
work
wasn't
rate.
like
Yeah, it was.
shimmy, feint, dodge,
Yeah,
duck. It was bang, bang, bang. Let's have a go.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Technically a good fight though. It was really good. And I do think Colby Covington, because of the things he says, get all the attention. Is people forget that he's a very, very good fighter.
oh,
Um,
absolutely
he's a
is.
great
Yeah,
wrestler, and he can take a punch. I tell you that much.
yeah. I can't remember which round it was. Was it in the second round? He got hit with that cross hand right on the tip of the jaw. When you looked at the slow mo of it, I think this is the one that he complained that he may well
Yep,
have broken his
He
jaw.
said he broke his jaw.
Yeah, I mean, has that been confirmed? I haven't
I'm not
managed.
100% sure. I'll have a quick
I
look.
haven't been able to see whether that is, but if it's not broken, he certainly would have like dislodged his jaw and taken it out of place, which I've done before in bouts, and it's a very uncomfortable affair. Every shot hurts.
And he took a
And
load of shots after that as well.
yeah, he did. For him to sit in the corner and say, "I think I broke my jaw," but to crack on with things, I mean, that legitimizes him as up there as one of the badasses, as is being bantered about now with UFC with their badass belt. He's badass to get in there and still trade shots with Usman, who's a physical specimen. But the rounds kind of, they had their theme, didn't they, all the way through, really. It was a
Yeah.
practical kickboxing match. There was no real takedowns attempts on either part, which really surprised me. Whether they planned it that way or whether they just got comfortable in that striking range, I don't know. Why was there no wrestling?
Interesting. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because like you'd think that that would be their go-to thing.
Mm.
Um, oh dear, I just
What
tried
was
to
happening?
share. Oh, I
Oh,
just tried to share the
oh, okay.
the sorry.
Oh, he did suffer a broken
Yeah,
jaw.
broken jaw.
Oh,
Um,
right, good. Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, can you see that there where it
Yes, I
says
can. I'm reading it right
score?
now.
Excellent.
Couple
That's right, because I've never done that before, so I was just having a little play with that. So yeah, he broke his jaw, and that was in the second round. So
Yeah, early on in a 5 round bout. I mean,
to go through that and to be hit as many times
Mm,
as he was
yeah,
after that.
yeah. So his body gave out on him. So yeah, he ended up losing. But you can also surmise, this is not a done deal. What would have happened, if that jaw break hadn't happened? How would those rounds progress then? There's still things left undone with this competition between both these parties. Okay, Colby's going to have to go back and maybe reassert himself, which I think he could potentially do. But that's going to be a long time out for him, a broken jaw. I mean, I know there's probably different severities that take different time spans to get over, but what's he even going to do after? Because there is talk about him doing other things, isn't there? He was on about
Yeah,
if he don't get paid more, he's off out and pursuing other things.
I think he's very clever, isn't he? In
Mm,
that he knew that few fights ago, he knew that they weren't. His contract was up,
yeah,
and he knew that they weren't planning to re-sign him.
yeah,
Then had a very impressive performance in a fight, and
yeah,
then cut an incredible promo afterwards when they gave him the microphone, which
mm,
saved his career. And
yeah.
now he's worth something to them. Now
Of
they don't
course,
want to lose him. So it'd
yeah,
be interesting to see where they go. If he
yeah,
says, I think I got to do other things, whether they give him that big money like they did with Connor,
yeah,
or whether they say, right, okay, if you want to go, go.
mm,
I'm not so sure because I
yeah,
think they haven't got that many fighters at the moment. They got plenty of world class fighters.
yeah,
Haven't got that many fighters with that promotional skill that
mm,
they can just give them a mic and they'll captivate the audience
yeah, yeah,
by talking. They haven't got a lot of those. They got a
mm,
few, but
mm,
I think they're those, particularly the ones who can back it up with fight, with technical
yeah.
ability, with a chin and
Yeah, so I was just going to say that I don't mind people talking smack and creating interest in the fight if they can back it up,
yeah,
and Colby absolutely can. And although he didn't back it up with a win, he certainly backed it up with a show of heart. Breaking your hand, your arm, even your toe or your finger, and carrying on a fight. But to break your jaw and carry on fighting, to me, that's yeah, it's not something I would relish the prospect of. That can't be good.
no, and I mean, after that he didn't. I thought he won. I did think he won for round 4,
Mm,
because the round began and Usman was kicking Covington in the midsection and
yeah.
getting those body shots. But then Covington responded. He threw a body kick of his own, and
Yeah,
he rocked like a swinging Usman with a combination.
yeah,
And whilst it didn't look like he was, he was going to finish him as such, he did kind of stun him. He
yeah,
had he had like a right hook on the counter.
yeah,
Um, And like you say,
yeah,
to do that with a broken jaw when he's just, which was 2 rounds before, is
yeah.
pretty
The
impressive.
the overall consensus of the fight as a whole, as I saw it, was Colby looking better with his combinations, but not having the power to do damage.
Yeah.
It did almost look like he rocked Usman momentarily, like his legs
Yeah.
maybe, but Usman received the shot so positively, even though he was getting hit. You know, he didn't make him break form. He held himself together. The only shot that ever looked like it could have spiraled into something would have been a concerted win was the left high kick to Usman's
Yeah.
head.
That's it. Yeah.
They were making me, that could lead to something. But other than that, he was relying on trying to land his combinations. But I think once his jaw been broke, he started to lower his work rate. Now, that was either due to that broken jaw, where he was less willing to trade, or it was the fact that Usman was really working the body a lot on
Mm.
Covington, and whether that started to telltale. Something what impressed me with Usman was that he kept going to the body with that teep and the punches. He was kind of throwing like an uppercut, wasn't he, to his body, and it was hitting home, and it did seem to have an effect on Colby. So that part of Usman's game really impressed me. That was something that I think stood out. Um, but I think the end of that bout come partly because of obviously the devastation to his jaw. He started getting hit, and he just couldn't recover from it with the damage that had happened to his face. I think had Colby not had that jaw issue, I don't think that fight would have reached closure at all. I think it would have gone the distance.
Well, we say that. Obviously, the end of the 4th round, Covington nailed him with like a 3-punch combo and some leg kicks.
Yeah,
And then he nailed him with that head kick, which
yeah,
kind of had like a brief halt. And
mm,
then they just finished the round swinging at each other, just
yeah,
just wild, not wildly, but like just going for each other.
yeah,
So I had Covington win the 4th round 10-9, and
yeah.
then I had the overall score as 38-38 going into the 5th round.
Right.
So I was really excited because I'm kind of making notes and I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable. They
Right.
hate
Yeah.
each other. They're drawing. It's the 5th round title fight. He's got a broken jaw and he's still going.
Yeah.
But I thought Usman going into the 5th round, when he came out for the 5th round, he looked determined that he was going to finish it. He
Yeah.
wasn't going
Yeah.
to let it go to the end.
Yeah, well, did you hear that in his corner? I don't know how his corner found out, but his corner started saying he's broke his jaw. He's got a broken jaw. So probably that gave him a good old pep up that, I could put this guy away.
Well,
I'm
funny
not too
enough, I
sure
was
if
going to
that's a
say
fourth or
to you,
fifth.
that he broke his jaw in the 2nd round,
Mm.
and Usman can't have known because those middle rounds he went a lot more for the body.
Yeah,
Whereas if he'd known he had a broken jaw, you'd
yeah,
have think he'd try and crack him with a
yeah,
with a
that's right.
big elbow or a big kick
Mm.
or whatever it may be. But the fight finished with the 5th round.
Mm.
It's like 4 minutes in as well, so he nearly made it.
Yeah,
Covington nearly made it to the 5 rounds, 3 with a broken jaw.
yeah,
Usman sort of charged at Covington while he was swinging at him, and Usman follows by backing Covington, landing more strikes. Usman then dropped Covington with a right. Covington got back up. Usman dropped him a 2nd time, and then he pounced on him
yeah,
with the strikes until the ref jumped in.
yeah.
I know Covington's complained on Twitter about a few things. He
Yeah.
complained about the stoppage. He complained that the low blow early on wasn't a
Was
low
not a low
blow.
blow. Yeah, I absolutely
Um,
agree with that. It looked like it kicked him on the hip.
and he also criticised the Goddard, the ref, for he says he didn't think the finger poke was a finger poke.
Yeah.
But he also didn't think the stoppage. He should let it go. He felt he was all right. But I mean, fighters generally are not happy, are they, with
Yeah, I think he's
stoppages?
probably just talking from raw emotion. It's just
Yeah,
after the fight. Maybe under reflection, he'll change his opinions on the comments that he's made. Yeah, I mean, like these fighters, when they're fighting at that top level, that their desire to win is huge, and the feeling of disappointment when they don't must be huge too, if not even bigger. And this guy's just voicing his disappointment and not getting the result he wants. He's got a bad flavour in his mouth. I just hope for all the fans' sake that we get to see him, come back to the UFC, because something in my gut tells me he might wrap it up. Yeah, I don't know. If he showed interest in pursuing other dreams, either something's in the pipeline anyway, and he was just waiting to see what happens. But maybe I just hope not. I want to. I just think that this is left, still left with work to be done between these two opponents, and I want to see it again. That's maybe a fan point of view. There's too much fight left in Colby. He's not fulfilled his full potential yet, I don't believe.
Yeah, I think hopefully it's like posturing to get a new contract because he knows that he's in a bit of a hot streak in terms of eyes on him.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's a bit of, posturing to get a better deal, hopefully. Because I agree, I think he's got a lot to offer the UFC as company and the MMA generally, I think there is potential there for big fights, whether it's a rematch of this or, other fights, there's fights there.
Yeah.
And it'd be a shame if he packed, because he's not, he's not old, is he? How old is Kobe Covington? I don't think
I'm not
he's
too sure what his age is.
But overall, good show.
Yes, a really good show. Some awesome matchups, some surprises. I can't wait for future ones. It just excites my bones. It really does.
Yeah, 31 Colby Covington is. So
31, yeah.
This is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the show. We got a couple of questions for you, so we'll let's finish off with some questions.
Okay.
Okay, guys, you can send questions for Danny each month or each show by tweeting at ACEcast_nation. Use the hashtag AceNationArmy or send them to facebook.com/AceCastNation, or you can email acenetworkcontact@gmail.com. So let's have a look what we have got. What do you think about Conor versus Cowboy and Tony Ferguson versus Khabib, with the winners facing each other and the losers facing each other? How do you see the fights going as well?
Right. Well, I think because Conor McGregor's fighting at 170, I'm going to have. I want him to win because like I say, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's been great for the sport, but I'm also a massive fan of Cowboy. So I love both these characters. I love them both and respect them both as fighters. But I think for the fact that it's done at 170, I'm going to say that Cowboy's going to have the more rounded tools. Now, Cowboy, although he's got really good wrestling and ground, he always chooses to strike on the feet. If he's a smart guy, he could choose to take this to the ground. And he's got good cardio. He's always in super good shape. Whereas Conor's cardio has always been a little suspect. And is it really going to be that amazing being in that heavy? It just means that he doesn't have to run that weight off, right? So that concerns me a little bit. Regards, what's Conor's mindset? Is he wanting to train where he's really comfortable and after weight cut? Something tells me that that might be the case. Maybe he's got a bit too comfortable being a super rich guy and chooses the easy route out of things.
But then maybe he's got his motivation back and he wants to get back into the fight game properly.
Yeah,
because I saw an interview with him where he said that he's got that that hunger back and that desire to train every day. And his coach John Kavanagh said the same, that he's now back training every day. He's he's sparring and doing everything on a daily basis. Whereas in the Khabib run up, he was doing a lot of press.
Yeah, sure.
He wasn't as focused, perhaps as what he should be.
Yeah, but surely being focused, you would fight at the appropriate weight, and surely 150 is the better weight, right?
I would think so. I'm just not sure about what the thinking is behind it.
Yeah, I would love to, be able to ask either, obviously Conor himself or John Kavanagh. I'm sure he has an influence on what the final say so on what direction each fight goes in. But sure, they could have done this at lightweight for sure. Surely they could, but who knows? I don't know. But for that fact, I'm going to go with Cowboy is probably going to win that fight. But it could easily go the other way with the dynamite in Conor's hands.
Very interesting, mate. What about Ferguson and Khabib?
Yeah, crikey. Yeesh. Well, this is going to go one of two ways. Either Khabib's going to just keep wrestle fucking him. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't swear, should I?
You're right. You're right.
He's going to. Okay, so he's going to keep taking him. I just don't think he can finish him. Khabib won't finish him unless it's with getting cut, which I know, it's possible that could be the case. But sure, on the other foot, the striking so way out there and so creative. And even when a takedown's happening, he rolls out of them, and I don't know, he could end up catching him in a sub. He could submit Khabib. I think that really is possible, and he's got the cardio as well to push Khabib into waters that he's never been into. And you've got to remember, Khabib's never been tested. He's always dominated and controlled the pace because he's been too good for people. What will happen when he can't control the pace over 5 rounds? Yeah, so okay. Man, do I bet against? I'm going to bet against Khabib.
Yeah, I fancy Ferguson as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Ferguson on this one. Yeah.
And do you know what? I think that Khabib is wary of Ferguson as well. I think that not that that's the reason that the fight has kept being delayed, and there's been issues with it, but I do think that there's a part of Khabib that's wary about Ferguson. Ferguson just seems unknockoutable.
Yeah.
He just takes those punches just unbelievably, but his jiu-jitsu and his submissions are just unbelievable.
He's absolutely, he fights on pure instinct. I'm sure there's never a game plan. He literally fights punch for punch, kick for kick, takedown for takedown, submission for submission, position for position, literally like that. I just think he creates on the spot. I think that's how he fights best, and that in turn makes him really unpredictable. And I think that's what makes Khabib feel a little uncomfortable about this matchup. And as a personality, I mean, Ferguson is not all the ticket. I mean, and I really don't mean that in a bad way. But
no, you're right though.
in terms of fighting, that makes him, a difficult person to fight against, because it's not like you're going to be able to break this guy down mentally. I don't think he thinks like a normal human. So I think this also makes Khabib a little wary. Yeah, and when Ferguson said in an interview, I think I'm already in his head. I think he's right. I think he is. I think we could see. I'm going to say Ferguson's going to win. I think he's actually going to fatigue Khabib, and possibly submit him in due process. Yeah, let's go for that. I'm going to go submission.
Good shout.
Round 4 or 5.
Excellent. Next question was, the person said, if Colby was telling his team that his jaw was broke, should they have pulled him from the fight there and then?
No. No, I think that the fighter initially is, because I don't think you're allowed to throw the towel in, are you? I'm sure in MMA you're not allowed to throw the towel in. I may be wrong on that, but I'm sure that's the case. You think I would know as a coach, wouldn't you? That's actually something that I've not given a great deal of thought about, but I'm sure that's the case. No, I think the fighter is certainly in enough experience to know whether he's taken enough or not. The only person who should be making judgment on that, other than the fighter, is the referee or the cutsman. Yeah. Other than that, he said my jaw's broke, I want out. He didn't say that at all. He goes, I think my jaw's broke. And I think he's merely saying that as, okay, what's the strategy now? How do we still get through this fight with a chance to win? Yeah,
it's just down to like almost protecting it, isn't it? And trying to make sure you don't take any big shots there. Or...
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't going to be anything hugely more consequential than it already was. Had he says, hey, I've got a headache and something I've never experienced before, of course, pull him out. That's something neurological, and that's potentially very, very serious. But if someone says, oh, I think I broke my hand, they very rarely stop. They crack on and try and get through the bout. I had one of my students, Denzel. He was fighting. It's just that fighting at amateur level, and comes back after the first round. I'm like, put your guard up, your hands so low. He goes, I broke my arm. Basically, the guy tried to put him in an armbar, and he pulled his elbow free, so the armbar was on his forearm, and it broke his forearm.
Jesus Christ!
And there I am saying, what are you doing?
Lift your arm up.
I can't. I broke my right arm. And he fought the rest of the match. He lost on decision, but it just goes to show you can have broken bones and you can
fight
still get through the bout. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you could do that with what happened to Anderson Silva.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was. Jesus. Yeah.
I mean, that was another level.
But yeah, I know what you mean, like broken hands and stuff which doesn't affect the way you can stand or function.
No, that's right.
And the final question was, do you think, though, what I said earlier, basically, do you think the UFC was hoping that Colby would beat Usman and then Conor would beat Cowboy and they could do basically the battle of the microphones, by the sounds of it?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think there was anything in that. I think, I don't think UFC are into I hope they win. I hope he wins because it's going to create this. I don't think it was down to that at all.
The only situation I disagree with that in is this Conor, Cowboy, and Khabib and Ferguson, because I fully believe that they want Conor to beat Cowboy because the money match is McGregor versus Khabib in Russia.
Yeah, I think if there's anything going to be, in terms of hoping for generating money and interest, would be for Conor and Khabib to happen a second time. And the only way that's going to happen is if he beats Cowboy and Khabib beats Ferguson. And with my thinking, I'm thinking it's going to be reversed. I think it's going to be Ferguson out on top and Cowboy on top.
But then they could still do Khabib versus McGregor then, couldn't they, really?
Yeah, the two losers.
So
I mean, what about that would be to say they're both losers and fighting it off? I mean, UFC could do that no matter what. The two losers face each other, the two winners face each other.
I would like to. I'd still say I would like to see Ferguson versus Conor more than I would like to see Khabib versus Conor again.
Yeah.
I think that would be incredible.
I can understand that. That would definitely be lively.
Oh yeah. So that's the show.
Thank you,
Guys,
Si.
you can check out Danny's Academy, which is bstacademy.co.uk. You can see all our shows on video, youtube.com/AcePodcastNation, iHeartRadio, Apple Pods, Spotify, Stitcher for the audio versions, facebook.com/AceCastNation. Give us a follow. Twitter.com/@AceCast_nation. Give us a follow. But most of all, just subscribe to YouTube. Click that bell so you're notified every time we upload a show. That's the best and quickest way to support the show. Helps us grow and helps us eventually be able to monetize YouTube as well if we get to 1,000 subscribers. So I appreciate everybody downloading, commenting, sending us questions. Danny, I appreciate your time and all your technical analysis. We'll be back definitely for UFC 246, which is Conor versus Cowboy on the July the 18th. But we're also planning, hopefully, to do the UFC Fight Night, which is January 26th, which is always the week after, by the looks of it. But we'll have to sort out whether Danny's available and stuff with that. Hopefully he is, I think. But
Should be good.
Yeah, Brett Johns is the co-main event there, so I'm quite looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Danny, anything to add before we go, mate?
Just big thank you, Si. I know you thanked me, but this is always a pleasure for me. It's great to be able to talk about something that I love, and I know you love it too. So that's great. We have great conversation. Always look forward to it. And for those who do take time out to listen, thank you also. And push it out there to other people. Let them know that this podcast takes place, and let's get a bigger audience.
Indeed. Tell your friends. Tell their friends. Share it. Comment on it. The best way to grow is for subscriptions on YouTube, comments on the videos and the shows, and reviews on iTunes and stuff like that. But the numbers are growing steadily all the time, and very grateful. And we'll see you. I'll see you next Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday every week. But me and Danny will be back on the 19th of January to review Conor versus Cowboy. Cheers, guys.